Welcome to my first video for the adolescent anomaly. As a teacher working with teenagers, one of the questions I'm often asked by parents and by teenagers is what teenagers can do to boost their self-esteem or confidence. Now, this is a very tricky challenge if it's something that you struggle with, but I'm going to share some thoughts with you to help ground your own thinking in how you might actually approach or address this challenge. The aim of the video is to provide teenagers with some guidance as to what they can do to improve their self-esteem or confidence, but I'll try to package it in such a way that parents can make use of this as well. One very important thing we need to understand before we continue is what's happening with the development of the psyche of the young adolescent. In order to best plan how you're going to address increasing or improving your self-esteem or confidence, we first need to understand what's happening with the psychological or psychic development of the young adolescent. So there's a reason why you don't want to spend time at home anymore. There's a reason why you don't want to spend time with your parents. And that's because your brain is going through a process of orientating yourself in relation to your wider social context. That's what we call becoming an adult, right? You're starting to become independent and you're searching for the ways in which you will best practice your independence as a young adult. We need to keep this at the forefront of our decision-making processes when it comes to how we can start enabling ourselves to improve our self-esteem or confidence as teenagers or adolescents. So why might you actually be struggling building your self-esteem or confidence as a teenager? As far as I can ascertain, there are two main reasons why. Firstly, because you're not doing anything to actually help you develop your self-esteem. Or secondly, maybe your parents aren't allowing you to develop your self-esteem by supporting you in providing you with the appropriate opportunities to do so. As with anything that we're trying to develop in life, developing your self-esteem and confidence is action-orientated, which means that you actually need to practice doing certain things if you want to see your self-esteem or confidence develop in any way. In order to figure out whether what you're doing will actually help you develop your self-esteem and confidence, I have devised three main evaluation criteria, one could call it, for you to think about. So firstly, what you do should be something that you are actually drawn to, something that you're motivated to do. Secondly, it needs to be something that you're good at, or at least something that you can become good at given enough time and practice, which will allow you to display competence in your chosen activity. The reason why this is so important is because teenagers respond best to direct feedback from their peers. So your peers are the ones who will tell you whether or not you're doing something right or wrong, and you will extract value from that, much more than you will from your parents or other adults telling you something similar or something different altogether. Then, thirdly, your chosen activity needs to be something that actually serves a purpose and has value in a broader social context. And this is because your brain is going through this developmental phase of orientating yourself to your broader social context. How can you expect yourself to step into your broader social context confidently if you know that you don't necessarily have any skills that could show those around you in your social context that you are valuable? So before we get into practical examples, there are two catches that you need to be aware of. The first catch is that your chosen activity needs to be something that you can practice independently from your parents. And secondly, it needs to be something that's appropriate to your age or your stage of development. A good example of this is high school sports. If we look at an example like football or soccer, it's very easy for a teenager to build self-esteem through this medium, especially when they become really good at it given sufficient time and practice. Because when they perform well on the soccer pitch or the football pitch, their peers will adore them for it, because the game has some form of social value or social capital within the cultural setting of your high school. But it doesn't stop there. It also has value or social capital in a broader social context. Football is the most popular sport in the world, and it's the most popular sport in the world for a reason. Obviously, a lot of people value it. So that's a really good indicator of something that's worth doing, something worth displaying your competency in. If we look at the opposite end of the spectrum, and we look at something that a lot of teenagers are engaged in, we can take an example like video gaming. So yes, video gaming is very popular amongst teenagers, but it is not ideal to help you develop your self-esteem because it doesn't possess the same socio-cultural value that something like football does. That's something that might change over time, although at this point, if we look at the relevant literature, most of the indicators show us that gaming isn't really something at this point in time that will generate social or cultural value. So practicing that daily won't really help develop your self-esteem because you can't abstract that value into a broader social context where others will be able to tell you that you're doing really well in this chosen activity. We see the same thing in the arts. If you play electric guitar or the drums, for example, you will enjoy the adoration and the validation from your peers much more than someone who practices a more classical instrument, such as the flute or the harp or the violin or cello or anything like that, because those instruments don't hold the same social cultural value that we see the guitar or the drums do. So if you do really like something that doesn't hold the same amount of social cultural value as something like football or the electric guitar or the drums would, then that's fine. I'm not saying that you shouldn't practice that. You definitely can because you are the arbiter of the skills that you're going to value. But if your aim is to develop self-esteem, you need to do something else as well that will allow you to enjoy the validation and the adoration of your peers. Now, if you're watching this video, I'm going to assume that you are someone who is struggling with self-esteem or confidence in general. And I'm sure one of the big questions that you're asking yourself right now is, where should you start? I've got 5 questions that you can ask yourself that should help you determine your aim a little bit better. So the first question you need to ask yourself, and you need to be really honest with yourself here, is what do you actually want to do? Okay, what motivates you, or what do you feel motivated to do? The second question is, what am I doing right now? Are my daily actions that which will allow me to become or do what I want to? Third question, is what I practice something I am truly drawn to? Question number 4, am I actually good at, or at least becoming incrementally better at that which I choose to practice? And the last question, does or can my chosen actions and activities serve a purpose in society? Will other people value it as much as, if not more, than me? I definitely recommend that you write these questions down and you actually write down your responses to these questions. Please feel free to add your thoughts in the comment section, or if there are any other questions you would like me to address, I'm always open to helping you develop your own thinking around your own queries and challenges as a teenager. Please subscribe and hit the like button if this video means anything to you.